Mike's muted. I'm getting used to new stuff. We're going to talk about some of this today. So, if any of y'all saw the welcome to episode 7, if any of y'all saw any of my Facebook posts, either on the page for the podcast or on my own Facebook page, you know that today is a little bit different. I did not have a guest lined up to talk today because I'm still getting used to this scheduling shit. Um, yeah. So that there's that. Um, but also, I think in keeping with the idea of um, after talking to the last few guests, I think one of the things I want to bring into the show, not just talking about failures and obstacles and things that get in our way of our art. I also want to maybe start talking about accountability, personal accountability, my own specifically. So, as with the original pilot episode, I feel like it's my responsibility to step into new territory before asking other people to do so. Um, so there's going to be some format changes. We're going to talk about some stuff here this episode. Um, so I kind of want to go over those periodically. I kind of want to do I guess, a State of the Union, I guess you could call it, or um, you know, just kind of talk about the way things are now. So I'm going to start calling these episodes tangents. And I actually did not even change the episode number up here. So we are actually on episode 7. And I guess I had that up there for episode 6. It still said episode 5. So hashtag work in progress. Um, I'm not going to change that right now. We will fix that just for anybody watching this. Um, that's a fuck up. So this will be tangent episode number 1. Um, Semi related, but also not. Um, so I want to start doing these periodically. I don't know how often I'm going to do them, but so I did a reel slash YouTube short last week or earlier. I guess that was last week. My first one. I've never done that. I'm not really a fan, but it's a nice way to get some additional info out there on the fly. I also created a TikTok and then I posted it there and then I opened it and it was pretty much nothing but a cacophony of insanity upon opening it, and I promptly deleted my account because that's just a lot, and I don't have time for that shit. So no TikTok. If y'all saw it, it's not there anymore because it's gone because it's stupid. Um, so yeah, I called those tangentially, and I titled that number 1. So this is the actual tangent number 1. So I'm kind of trying to go with a theme here, if that makes any sense. Um, so to start out, before we roll the intro, again, this is a little bit of a different format because I didn't have an interview lined up last week for this episode. I do have several lined up. One definitely coming up this week in a couple days for next week's episode, and I'm communicating back and forth with some other people. So before we roll the intro, just a real quick summary of what we're going to talk about for the duration of this episode. I don't know that it's going to make the standard hour or so, but up there in the corner is my usual Linktree QR code. So if you scan that, it'll go to my Linktree. Um, in lieu of since there's no guest during the entire episode, I'm going to keep my Linktree up there. But the first link in the link tree, I have added my Extra Life page, which, for those of you who don't know, is a charity event for gamers. For like the past 7 years, I've been doing Extra Life 1 day a year, 1 hour straight, and try to raise money for sick or injured children. Dishwasher just finished running. If you can hear that, that is. Um, so if y'all want to donate to something, you can go there and click. It's for sick and injured children. We raise millions of dollars every year. So I'm planning on periodically throughout the year, as soon as I get my capture card put into all this setup, maybe doing a bi-monthly charity stream for whatever game I'm playing at the time. Because this setup's got me inspired to do a little bit more than I normally do just on my Twitch. I can now do it everywhere and with a capture card. So that's up there if y'all want to donate to something this week, since I don't have a guest with their own info or whatever. And also, if you really, really care, my Substack's up there. You can go to either my 2 free ones where the podcast is, or where my shitty blog is, or there is one that you can subscribe to for free currently that I may start publishing serialized chapters to. You can subscribe to that, but I would prefer right now, since we're talking about the Abject Demiurge podcast, if you want to donate to a charity, you can go to there, click on the Extra Life link, and go and donate to my Extra Life page. It's a really good cause, helps a lot of people. So anyway, that's the link tree. Since I don't have a guest, that's just going to stay there. If we have spoken about potentially being on the show, is another thing I want to mention. I have created a form. I initially tried it with Google Forms, which I think went out to a few people, but it was problematic. So I started using a different form generator. And while it seems to work a little bit better, it may be going to people's spam. So if you're watching this and either I've been talking to you or somebody you know has been talking to you about talking to me, and you've been waiting for an email from me, or it comes from the Abject Demiurge Pod email at iCloud.com. If you've been waiting for that, check your spam or junk folder, because it may be going there, and I'm working on fixing that, and I apologize. And next, if you're watching this, or you've been a guest, or you want to be a guest, or you just happen to stumble across this, if you know any artists or of any kind, any creatives of any kind, specifically right now, I would really like to talk to somebody who's a dancer. I know I keep saying that in previous episodes, but I really want to talk to a dancer, because I want to talk to them about the negative aspects of their art, because I'm sure it can be pretty insane sometimes. So if you know any artists or creatives of any kind, link tree, shoot them to my link tree, and we'll see what we could do if they want to talk. I've been a writer for almost 30 years now. So most of the other creatives I know are writers within the writer community, and I really want to talk to some other people. I still want to talk to writers. In fact, the interview I'm doing this coming week for next week's episode is also a writer. More on that later. So I want to talk to more than just writers. So if you know somebody or are somebody that wants to do that, I'm still working with this new mic setup, so I apologize. We're going to talk more about that as well. So the first thing we're going to talk about here is accountability. We're going to talk about that today, introducing some accountability into the show, not just for my artists, but for myself as well. I want to talk about the lessons I've been looking back at the previous episodes, because some of the early ones, especially that first 7-minute pilot, was a fucking mess. And then format changes. I kind of have some ideas for some format changes, not severe, just tweaking things a little bit. and maybe what can be expected going forward. Although I think that maybe considered format changes, I tend to duplicate talking points sometimes on my show notes. So a little bit of a conversation ahead, not as much just me, having a conversation with the viewer and talking about going forward. I am trying to improve this. This is a work in progress, but in keeping with the idea of, failure and rejection, and as growing points as artists, and trying to get the general public who may not be artists to understand that, you know, stagnation does not mean that you quit. Sometimes it just happens. Um, if somebody says they're an artist, then they're an artist, whether you see product or not. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and roll the intro, and then we'll start breaking down each of these topics. So I'm noticing that on my intro, I need to check the spelling on something. I'm not going to say that out loud because that might be, I might embarrass myself a little bit more than I want to. Um, First thing, accountability. I actually added that after I started making these show notes. So I don't have any bullet points for that, but I kind of so I kind of want every episode that we have a guest prior to the intro. I'm going to kind of give an update on my own accountability. Uh, in the 4 weeks that we've been doing this show, I have probably tripled my output for my writing. For those of you just joining us, I am been writing for almost 30 years. I am on my fifth novel. I've never been published, but as we say, this is the one. Um, I have been. I'm on the third draft of my current novel that I'm working on, the work in progress. And I think I think we've been doing this about a month, maybe a month and a half. I think these episodes. Um, in that time, my output has increased, but I do, as I've said before, most of us that are not living off of our art, we actually work full time, day jobs, and we squeeze our art in when we can. And because I'm doing this, I've also taken time away from that for this. Uh, so that means I write in the evenings, I write early mornings, I write on the weekends, things like that. Um, in the last 2 weeks, probably, I checked my word count before we started for some self accountability, and I have written about 30,000 words in the last 2 weeks in the times when I haven't been working or doing family stuff with kids, and they're all teenagers, so they don't really do much. Um, so yeah, I'm getting to the point to where I have a wish list of agents that I'm going to query, the most important to me and the ones that I want to work with the most. I'll start querying them first, but I also, as a backup plan, as I mentioned earlier before the intro, I do have a Substack that I may want to start posting chapters to in a serialized format for under a subscription fee. I don't necessarily know how that's going to work yet. I do have some free subscribers, so if you want to get an update on that more regularly, you can go ahead and subscribe to that for free, just in case I end up having to resort to that. There's not a lot of fiction on Substack, though, and I really still want to traditionally publish. That's been my lifelong dream. So anyway, accountability. So one of the things, not just for my own personal accountability, down the road, I kind of have talked to some of my guests about it off of the stream. Down the road, 6 months to a year, I kind of want to schedule a side episode or a bonus episode maybe where we catch up, touch base, and see if anything's changed. If if they've adjusted their work schedule or if they've made any movements toward their potential goals or the things that we've been talking about. So I kind of want to start. I think it's important if we're talking about taking the sting out of the idea of rejection and failure. I think it's important that we also talk about accountability, which in my mind means talking about and being honest about what have I done? What have I done to improve on the things that we talked about? That episode 5 sticking up there that I forgot to fix apparently 2 weeks ago is bothering the shit out of me. Anyway, this is what happens. Bruises, warts, and blemishes, and all. For those of you who are new to this podcast, nothing gets edited because of the theme of the show. We leave things as they are, even when they piss us off, because that's how art works. So moving on, the next thing, lessons learned. So according to episode 6 feedback, one of the lessons that I have learned is that I drink coffee loudly. And since a lot of the people who are listening to these episodes are doing so on podcasts, that can be excruciatingly, let me push this back a little bit now that I'm thinking about it, can be excruciatingly difficult because I don't watch these. I can't watch them. It makes me very uncomfortable. But sometimes at the gym, I do listen to the previous episode. And in doing so, last week on episode 6, while talking to a coffee roaster, while talking to Michael, my thermos and my coffee pouring and my drinking was incredibly loud. I am working on learning how to do all this. Again, it's a work in progress. I'm new to this. I do this by myself, so we'll get there. I do have some more, I don't want to say tools, some equipment, I guess, coming to make this a little bit easier, a little bit quieter. Just adding things a little bit as I learn where my issues are. First lesson. So the audio issues are a big one. And the uhs. I'm still working on my radio voice. I think I am getting better. And I have noticed that I'm talking easier in public to people, which is a welcome side effect given that I'm neurotically introverted. Another thing that I really, really, really want to make sure I do better is acknowledging that many of you are podcast listeners, and that a lot of times I refer to things on screen like I did with the QR code earlier about my link tree. I have been putting those in the episode notes on podcast forms. So when it goes to, it's hosted on Substack. So when I post it on Substack, I put the notes in there. It has all the links that I'm referring to in the notes on the podcast episode. So when you're listening to it and you look at the episode, it should have all the details and the notes below in a link, but I had not been mentioning that. And I'm going to try to do better. I'm going to try to remember that I'm not just talking to people who are watching this. I'm talking to listeners. As a podcast listener and a YouTube watcher, I should be better about understanding that there's a difference between the two and that the way that they are consumed is a lot different. So for podcast listeners, I sincerely apologize, and I'm going to try to make the audio issues, which affect you way more than the YouTube or Twitch or Facebook watching audience, those affect you a lot more severely, and I apologize for that. Scheduling. Part of the reason why we're having this tangent episode number 1 is because, which is episode 7, is because I have been scheduling an interview a week for the next episode release for the following Monday. And I was not prepared for the eventuality of not having a guest for that week, because people are busy. And I should know that because I'm fucking busy too. So I for anybody that I've been talking to, if it seems like I've been pushing it a little hard to get in a certain amount of time, I apologize. That was not been my intention. I'm freaking out because I set a goal for myself and I have not been meeting it. That is nobody's fault but my own. So if you got my form out there to fill out in your email or in your spam junk folder, whatever, fill it out. It has an option on there to pick a date and time now on the new form that you can suggest for yourself. No rush. Fill it out when you need to. I'll work around it. I'll figure something out in here. I need to get better about that. That also kind of goes along with accountability. So the next thing is I did not finish making my show notes because we had dinner and I got distracted. Okay. Format changes. I started the show out with a very specific prompt. I broke it down to things that I thought would be pertinent to the conversation. Early on, this is more of an organic change. This isn't something I feel like is necessarily broken, but these conversations have been happening much more organically than I had initially expected. So, and it's a little bit easier talking to people than I expected, and the format was more for me in case I had issues during these conversations and was having a hard time communicating with people. But I think I'm enjoying this more than I thought anyway. So, as it has changed organically and these conversations have been seeming to come more naturally, I have. I'm going to do a little bit less prompts, more letting people kind of tell their stories on their own time in their own way. I also, I think in the last episode with Michael, um, in the episode we were talking about how I had previously asked previous guests about some advice that they would give to somebody in their artistic field, who had been in a place where they had been that they would have gotten when they were younger. And I think in that last episode, I kind of tapped into something that kind of caught me off guard. And I think I like the idea of it a little better. If you missed that, we actually talked about unwarranted advice because as creatives, we tend to get a lot of unwarranted advice from other people in our field, from people in other fields, from non-artists. You know, why don't you try this? Why don't you do this? Oh, you should do that. Oh, you should, you know. And while well-meaning, a lot of it is unwarranted. And a lot of times, even the most well-meaning things can be harmful to your. I really hope that background noise, whatever's going on in the kitchen right now, is not being picked up by this fucking mic. Even the most well-meaning conversations from other people can do harm to our self-confidence as creatives and artists. So I kind of want to tap into that a little bit, and instead of asking each artist about advice that they would give or wish they had gotten, I like the idea better of saying, you know, what kind of what unwarranted advice would you risk coming off as an asshole to other artists to give? Like, what do you think is important enough for people to know that you would give unwarranted advice and have them be annoyed with you? I guess that seems more appropriate to me. Like, it's unwarranted advice. They don't want it, and you know they don't want it. But what is something you think would be important enough to say? I know this is something you don't want to hear, and I may be an asshole, but I think that's a more important question. I think as people who receive advice that we don't want, I think that's a more important question, and I think it's a little bit. I think it requires a little bit more thought. I think on our part as artists, and a little bit more perspective as artists on our part. Um, so that's one of the things that will change a little bit. I really like that idea. Format changes. Another format change. I don't like this, and I'm still trying to avoid it. But I have said in the past that I really don't want to do ad reads or do any sponsorships, and I really don't want to do like. I absolutely 100% don't want to go cross-platform monetization, like have monetization on YouTube and have it on Meta Business or whatever the fuck they call it, or Twitch. I don't want to manage that shit. I don't have time for that. But I also kind of don't want to do ad reads. But at the same time, this shit's kind of expensive and time consuming. So I've been looking into it a little bit, but my instinct, my gut instinct reaction is to not want to have shit interrupting the middle of somebody's story. I do not, and I am not going to do that. Once people are talking and telling their stories and giving their experiences, that is their time, and I'm not going to interject on that with somebody's shit. So, if I come across something that I think is really important, maybe ad reads for, I don't know. Do charities do ad reads? I don't think they do. But maybe something that I use. I use a few things that have been, the support for. I know StreamYard has been fantastic. So maybe, if I could get something like that, I may stick that in the intro somewhere, but it's going to be short and it's going to be quick. And I'm still really not wanting to do it. But again, it's getting expensive and time consuming. So I do want this to kind of be free for everyone. And I don't like the idea of hawking somebody else's wares, but it is what it is, and we'll see what happens. Hashtag work in progress. Talk about and ascertain, I guess. Anyway, I really wish I had finished taking these show notes because I had a bunch of bullet points yet to add. One of the things possible for, I know I had more stuff for format changes. So what I want to do is I want to start interviewing people, maybe 2 or 3 a week, and then I'm just going to schedule them every Monday out so I can kind of get some in the bank so that I can, be focused less on this every single week because it's taking time out of my writing. So if I could start maybe talking to 2 or 3 people a week, that would really help. So if you've been thinking about it, if you're interested, if you're curious, find me on any one of my socials, DM me. Again, Substack, whatever. My emails are on there somewhere. There's a link to the Discord. I just posted my Discord invite link on my Facebook. So if you want to go in there, we can talk about it on there. There's a few other communities that I'm involved in. I don't want to name drop them for their own benefit. That I am still working up the guts to put myself out there in them because some of them are full of some people that I really admire and look up to for most of my life. And I'm not, I'm still not brave enough yet to ask them about it or put it out there in those communities, either for the people that I admire or for the people like me that are also in there. And I also have a list of people that I admire that I've been working up the guts to reach out to. There have been a couple. that I've reached out to their booking reps or their management or whatever. So we'll see if I hear back from them, because I don't want to just talk to the rest of us. I also want to talk to some successful people who may be living off of their art. Like Michael was a lot of fun. He had some really cool, interesting stuff that I didn't really know a lot about, and I want some more of that. I want people who are living off of their art that consider themselves successful, and I want to pull a little bit out of them about their misfortunes and their mistakes and their what's happening, and their failures. Because as we have been discussing, while we are talking about failures and things that may stagnate our progress, um, these are actually turning out to be incredibly transformative experiences and positive experiences. One of the reasons why I believe that is because we're learning that no matter what kind of creative we are, what kind of art that we work with, um, our experiences are not that different, and that the majority of us feel the same. We either feel too old, we feel, you know, too we talked about imposter syndrome. We feel not good enough. Um, we feel like we don't belong. Like these are common universal themes in the artistic world, and I think that we're learning that. And the people that we're talking to, the people that I'm talking to, the people that you're listening to and watching, no matter what we're creating and what we're working on, we're learning that we are kindred spirits despite the gap between our arts, and that there is actually turning out to be a lot of crossover in our endeavors. And I'm really impressed by the way that it's been motivating all of us, and how you know everybody that I've had on here, I'm trying to find them on Facebook, or everybody that I'm about to talk to, I'm trying to find them on Facebook or Instagram, or if I have talked to you and I haven't found you on socials, that is not on purpose. Please find me, friend me, whatever, wherever you are. Um, I'm gonna stay still on Twitter, but I'm not gonna talk about the shit show that Twitter is right now. I'm just gonna get angry. So, um, yeah, I'm really trying not to make this fit into an hour, but because I don't know that I can talk myself much longer than I already have. But there are some changes coming to the show, and I really want to try to start getting more people regularly. If you know someone, if you are someone, find me on any one of the places that are in that link tree. If you're a podcaster, if you listen on podcasts, you know, go down to the notes on the episode and click on the link for my link tree and find me anywhere in there. The website is currently down. I am not really using my Squarespace anymore. Uh, I've moved most things to Substack. Whether I end up going with a um, paid subscription for my writing or not, the blog is there free. The podcast is hosted there free before it goes out to all the other places. So you can find me on there. Substack Notes just launched a week, 2 weeks ago. It's pretty cool. It's a nice way for everybody to talk to each other in small bits without having to deal with the subscriber stuff. It's a good platform. It's growing. It's a really good way to support independent writers of all kinds. Hopefully, we get some fiction stuff off the ground there, a little bit more of it. Depending on how agent querying goes in the next, I don't know. I plan on being ready to query 4 to 6 months, but I'm not sure how the accountability aspect of this conversation feels about that, because that might be incredibly generous. But I've been getting a lot more done, so we'll see. If you want to find me on any of those things, if you want to talk, we can do that. Um, if you're not sure if you want to talk, if you want to talk outside of this environment, we do before we start recording, we do have a conversation and give a rundown, and then after record, we have a little bit more of a conversation. A lot of people I've been talking to back and forth in email before we do this. There is no solid commitment. If we talk about a date and time and we get up to that date and time and you email me a little bit before and you say, I'm sorry, I don't want to do this, I changed my mind, I understand. Um, you know, Anxiety and depression here, severe anxiety and depression, I get it. I totally get it. No hard feelings. Um, you know, Baby steps. You got to do what you got to do and protect yourself above all else. So I get it. But if you want to start that conversation, we could talk back and forth in email. We could talk on socials, whatever, private messages, comments, whatever. It's all out there. I try to monitor it as much as I can. Um, I guess maybe I know the link tree doesn't have every single thing on there. There's a few though that when you get into them, they link to each other. So there's an Alex T. Holden Facebook page for me. There's an Alex T. Holden Instagram for me, but there's also an Abject Demiurge Podcast for Creatives Facebook page and Instagram, which I've barely touched. Then I'm on Twitter at Alex T. Holden. I'm on Twitch, YouTube. Where a post, I actually think I have a post.news. I've been using a little bit less since I've been on Substack, but I think I have a Mastodon account out there that I've maybe used twice. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked, and this is not helpful or listenable. I really wish I'd have finished these show notes. I had way more than this to talk about. Let's see. Yeah. Just again, if you know anybody, I've run into people out in public here in town. People I knew back in the day, just at the gym the other day, and talking about the show, and I've, sent some emails out. Other people that have been on have referred me to other people, and it doesn't have to be somebody I know. I want to talk to people from all over the place. So, if you feel like you've had a lot of missed opportunities, if you feel like you've had a lot of failures, if you feel like you've had a lot of distractions, whatever, we are here to support that. We are here to talk about that. We are here to normalize that. And we are here to make sure that other people understand that a lot of us have those same experiences and that it is okay. It is okay to have those moments. If I stop writing for 6 months, I stopped writing during the pandemic. We talked about this when Jeremiah was on. I didn't write shit for 2 years during the pandemic. I think I sat down to write hundreds of times and I maybe wrote a page in 2 years. Sometimes it happens. That doesn't make me not a writer. Sometimes you get hit with so much shit in your life that you stop. I think the real question is if money, time, if you had everything that you needed at your disposal, what is the one thing that you would do with your free time? What is the one thing that defines you as a person? Then you're that thing. I'm a writer, no matter what. Even when I'm not writing, I'm still a writer. And that is who I am. And I think that for a lot of the general public, or for non-artists, I don't want to say general public, because a lot of the general public is artists, even if no one around them knows it. I think for non-artists, non-creative types, it's hard to grasp doing a thing without any verifiable work product doesn't make it a hobby, because I think that a lot of times that gets defined as a hobby. And I have also said before, in a couple of the previous episodes talking to other people, we have been painting since we lived in caves. We've been painting on walls, communicating through art since before we could communicate directly with words. I think that that is who we are. It is in our nature to create things. It is in our nature to be subversive, to attack the status quo. And I think it is in our nature to do that through art, through our own medium and our own means. So if you've ever had those moments, if you've ever where you have tried something and you failed at something and you want to talk about it, you want to put it out there for other people to hear about it, and you want to take the sting out of it a little bit and maybe motivate you to get back on the horse, I'm down for it. So I think I'm probably just gonna run my little transition thing here and then start closing this out because I was not as prepared for this as I thought I was. I'm much better at this when I'm talking to people, when other people are talking to me. So I'm going to go ahead and do my little thing here and then close this out. All right. So in closing, there is my info's up there. If you click on the first link that goes to my Extra Life, please donate to help some sick and injured kids. It's a great, great charity event that happens every year, but we do take donations year round. Game day is in November. If you want to get involved, create an account and stream your games for donations to charity. It's a great, great thing. Um, yeah, if you've been waiting on an email from me to for the episode form to get on a to get on here and have a conversation, check your spam junk folder. That's important because I believe that that is where it's going for most people who have not responded back to me by way of mutual friends or mutual colleagues. That is where their email is going or your email is going. Um, if you're an artist, creative, or you know somebody who is, and you just happen to stumble upon this, whether you keep watching it, whether you keep listening to it or not, send them my way to all my socials, whatever. You know, throw it in a YouTube comment or a Twitch comment or whatever. Facebook, I don't care. Just throw in a comment somewhere on one of the pages somewhere in that mess of a link tree, and I'll send you a form and we'll have a conversation. And I think that's about it. Going forward, we're going to try to be talking to somebody a couple times a week so we can get an episode out every Monday ahead of time. We're going to start talking about not just failures, but also personal accountability, start doing some catch up with people we've talked to in the past. When we get farther down the road with more people, more guests, I'm trying to get talk more regularly because I want to keep this going. I'm really enjoying this. It's helping me. It's helping the people that I'm talking to. So if you're in an artistic slump, let me know. Anywhere that you can find me, it's there. It's all over the internet. Terrifyingly, let me know. It's been helping. It's been helping a lot of people. It's been helping me. It's been helping them. It's been helping people just watching. So yeah, working on the audio issues. I apologize to podcast listeners. I'm going to try to remember you more regularly and remind myself that not everybody's watching this. Some of you are listening to it. And hopefully the sound is a little better this episode. I did a test earlier with the new microphone and all the new stuff that I'm getting, and it seems to be better. It seems to sound better, and it seems to be less disruptive to audio listeners. So hopefully the same rings true for this episode. So I guess I filled 45 minutes. I really, really pretty sure I had more to say. But we started eating dinner and I got distracted by a bunch of stuff and forgot what I was doing. So, as always, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Um, if you're working on something, whether you come on here to talk or not, whether you're working on something and you just happen to stumble across this, if you're just listening to this while you're working in the background, and you only semi give a shit, thank you for being here, because it means that something I'm saying is having some kind of value to you. And that's the purpose here. The purpose here is to, make some kind of change with your creative endeavors. So I like to always end with the thing. So whatever it is that you do, keep at it, and I will see y'all on the next episode. Thank you for stopping by.